Today, we honor the women who care for our community. We give love and light to the experiences that have brought them home to themselves, that have reminded them of their own internal light, that have shifted something, changed something inside. And as we share their stories, the truths of their experiences, we find the connection in our own stories. We see their beauty, we see our own. We see their journeys, we see our own. Sharing the story of Sue Kumar, a woman who has had to work her way through systems to achieve her goals, we give space for storyteller Sade Hassan.
I moved here to this country when I was almost 23 years old after graduating from architecture school. It's possible that I have always been brave and bold. But to be honest, there was a time when I first learned the importance of speaking up, especially when there are systems that exist to create opportunities for those within the majority while excluding those in the minority groups. I was volunteering at my son's school. I was coaching some science Olympiad events. And I noticed that there were a lot of biases within the committee that ran that group. Although the committee was through the school, it was managed mostly by the parents. There was a man who was in a leadership role, and he made most of the decisions. He was probably the kind of man who was used to his voice being the loudest and the most important in the room. He was someone who had power. I noticed how he wanted to have his kids on the team, but they didn't have the merit. They did not qualify. And it bothered me because I knew that it was unfair for the children who didn't have a voice. They were mostly from diverse backgrounds, from minority backgrounds. They were being overlooked and excluded, and I knew that I needed to speak up. I stood up and voiced my concerns to both that man and the other members of the committee, and I did not back down. Eventually, it did make a difference. Later on, I would become one of the committee members, and we took that small team, that public middle school team, to the national level. Our team placed 4th in the country for that particular event. That situation helped me not only to realize the power and the strength of my own voice, but it was also a reflection of the fact that there are systems that exist in small and big ways that can exclude others if we're not willing to do what it takes to require change. I knew how the system worked, so I spoke up to change it. Another challenge came up when I had to face a different system on a professional level. This time, I didn't fight against the system, but I had to work with the system. Once you complete your architecture degree in India, you are certified to work as a professional architect. However, that's not the case in the United States. That is fine, and it is totally understandable. You have to go through internships and pass exams to get your license here. And I was willing and ready to do that. However, there's another loophole that has to do with the credentialing system. When they saw my transcript and my education history, they recognized my architecture degree to be valid, but they did not recognize my high school diploma. So I found out that I would have to go back and give my high school level exams, not just English, but everything, mathematics, physics, chemistry. Either I had to pass those exams or go back to high school and give the 11th and 12th grade again, which made no sense whatsoever. I went to high school, graduated. My graduation was recognized so that I could go to college, but they created this hardship. They create this system of hardship that makes it impossible for some immigrants to go through with getting credentialed in this country. I know because a few of my friends migrated here with me, and it was a major hardship for them. They weren't able to do it. Everyone can't remember what they studied 20 years ago and pass calculus and other mathematics exams in order to sit for the architecture exam. Those are some systemic things in which I don't know why they exist. Maybe just to discourage people. If it were just the architecture stuff, yes, 1,000%. They want to make sure that what you have studied there matches what you are doing here. You're building in this country. You are designing in this country, and you need to have the knowledge. And I completely respect that, but that was not the case. In my particular case, I didn't fight it. There just was no way to fight it. I had to work my way through the system, and it took a lot longer than it would have if those barriers weren't in place. What it does to an immigrant is makes it very, very hard. Until you're a registered architect, you can't find any good jobs. Your salary is less. It's an economic hardship. It's very discouraging, especially if you're a woman and if you have kids. I study while I have my little babies. Fortunately, my husband was able to support us financially, but if I would have been on my own, there is no way that I could have completed it. Those are the roadblocks that exist in the architecture profession where I come from. But again, I couldn't fight against the system, so I worked within it. Some people fight, and that would have taken me many, many, many years. I probably never would have gotten my licensure, and I needed to work. I needed my job. At that time, I didn't understand racial biases, but I now understand that it's in place maybe to weed out those that they want to exclude. I didn't think of that at the time. I didn't look at it through the lens of equity. I just saw it as a hardship that I needed to overcome. There are very few women of color in my field. It's very small, very, very small. I am an architect. It's more than a job. Now I work with a group of architects who have had many years of experience as project managers, just like me. And I'm the only woman of color there. The only person of color who's an architect. And that is a pretty big deal. I bring a diverse perspective and cultural value. I stand out. And I'm careful because I know I'm working 10 times harder to make sure that I'm not letting other people down. Other people like me who are aspiring to be an architect or to be some other kind of professional. I carry that weight because I'm representing people from my background. And I want to make sure that I represent them well. Asian women make up less than 5% of registered architects today. And this number was much lower when I got registered back in the day. So I work hard, and I speak up when and where I can to let my actions speak for others like me.